This is SB Nation Radio.
And SBNationRadio.com.
Presented by Quicken Loans. Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios. Here's Eytan Shander.
Mike Tomlin did his best to downplay the drama that's going on in Pittsburgh. We spoke to an expert in Hour 1 2 hours ago who said that's not necessarily the case. Jerry Dulac, who was with us covering the Steelers for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, spoke at length about how this thing has erupted like a geyser now and is past the point of no return when you talk to players in that building. And that's damning when you hear teammates, off the record, yes, but still teammates, not come to your defense and say, nah, man, we need this guy. We need to work this out. I saw this in 2005 when I was in the Philadelphia Eagles locker room covering that team for a local radio station here, and you saw every guy outside of Donovan McNabb and a handful of linemen come out and were beyond vocally supportive. I mean, that's putting it lightly. These guys were openly, most of them on defense, supportive of T.O., saying, yeah, we get it that there's a back and forth and he and Donovan McNabb don't get along, but Philadelphia Eagles need to pay him. Philadelphia Eagles need to pay him. And this is not off-the-record stuff. This is me sticking a microphone in front of Jeremiah Trotter, who was a linebacker and leader of the defense in 2004-05, that 05 season. And he's looking around like, yeah, man. You know, in his thick Stephen F. Austin grad accent, pay him. Pay him. Guys openly saying to the organization via the media, you need to stop this. And you had nothing like that to the point of Le'Veon Bell's locker just getting pilfered, and now with Antonio Brown, as Jerry's told us earlier, that was the case. There was something that popped of this story that is hilarious, because Antonio Brown blew up and basically skipped practice following that, and then returned like nothing happened. He returned like nothing at all even went down, and he just showed up ready to work the next day following missing practice and the subsequent blow-up that came from it. So you have to think to yourself, just what's going on in his brain that he thought he could slide in there and act like nothing happened, and everybody around him would act like nothing happened. So we dug deep, and we found the TV equivalent. This is exactly a scene right out of Seinfeld. But Jerry was on with us earlier from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, at Jerry Dulac on Twitter, and with a G. This was how he laid out the scenario of what Antonio Brown did and how he tried to show up the next day like nothing went down.
When the players walked in to the locker room on Sunday before the game, now the Steelers hang all the uniforms in the locker until 90 minutes before when the inactives come out. So they walk in and they see Antonio Brown's uniform in his locker, hanging in his locker, after they know that he intentionally skipped practice, took himself out of practice, refused to practice,
right.
Skipped every meeting, did not go to the walkthrough on Saturday, skipped the team meeting at the hotel Saturday night, and they walk in and see a jersey hanging there, potentially meaning he could play. And one of the players told me, he said, when and now it's a starter, when I saw this, I didn't even want to play the game. And to use their words of covering it up, his behavior with saying that he was injured, there was no knee injury. He had no issues with his knee injury. Even Mike Tomlin admitted they said he was going for an MRI Friday, and at least Mike Tomlin, I'll give him credit, he didn't try to walk around it. He said no, he never went for it because he never had an issue with it. But Antonio Brown shows up expecting to play after doing all that, to show you where his mindset. He shows up expecting to play, thinking there's nothing wrong with what he did, but I'm good to play now, so I'm going to play. And thankfully, to Mike Tomlin's credit, he said, no, you're not playing. But that what transpired, just annoys some of the players. And then Eytan, on Monday or yesterday, Vince Williams, our inside linebacker, tweets, "I hate rats, bleep them." Well, I mean, that's firing at your teammates who talked about Antonio Brown or let the cat out of the bag. So there's another layer of a divisive element taking place, and that's what happens. So there's these divided lines already that are forming, and it just can't get any better. I'm sorry, it's one thing. You have one little misstep, and they say we accept them back. You have salary, contract holdouts. That's a whole nother issue. When you just deliberately skip practice, and then it annoyed the players too. Well, it doesn't annoy them, but they think, yeah, and he still gets paid for that because he wasn't suspended or anything. He does all that, and he's still going to get his huge paycheck. And that's the kind of stuff that just infuriates the players when you're just not all in, and you just deliberately do this, and then incredulously think you're just going to show up and play.
Unbelievable. Skips practice, shows up the next day, game day, expecting to be out there and playing like nothing happened. Completely bails on his teammates and then shows up, coaching staff, teammates, everybody in the building looking up like, dude, what happened, man? Where were you? And he turns around, what do you mean? What happened? I'm here. I'm here to play football. I'm here to be out there on the field and go out there and earn some money. Practice? What? Oh, we had practice yesterday? Oh, I'm sorry. We had practice? I didn't know we had practice. Yeah, I was doing some stuff. I had to get some things done in the house before our final game here. But I'm here to play. But I didn't realize we had practice. How little self-awareness can you have to be absent from a walkthrough, absent from a key practice leading up to a game, and then showing up ready to go like nothing would happen or nobody around you would even say something, especially your coaches. And maybe you could talk or smooth things over with your fellow teammates. Maybe you can explain what's going on and somebody who's your peer can get it a little easier. But I don't care if it's Mike Tomlin, Bill Cowher before him, Bill Belichick, Doug Peterson, or anybody else that's coaching. Somebody's going to say something. I don't care how inept you are. You can be Bobby Ross. I don't care how inept you are. Somebody's going to say something. Somebody's going to look up and say, what the hell happened here? Where were you? It was right out of Seinfeld, in which George Costanza, we're going to play you the clip. I'll set it up real quick. Eytan Shander, SB Nation Radio, at Shander Shows, how you get me on Twitter. Our non-sports poll of the day is up there as well. But George Costanza quits, walks out in emphatic fashion, loses it with this boss. This is early, season 2 or 3, one of the early seasons. Loses it with his boss, and then realizes that when talking to his buddy Jerry, not so many opportunities on the open market. Not so many jobs out there. That's when that scene is where he looks up to Jerry and says, I like sports. And then they go back and he thinks, maybe I shouldn't have. So he tries to rectify and think to himself, all right, well, I can just walk back in like nothing happened. He can walk back in, and I think Jerry even says, nobody takes you seriously. Maybe Antonio Brown had a George Costanza moment in which he realized, nobody takes my antics seriously anyway. So he looks back, has a moment of clarity, thinks, wow, I made a mistake by not showing up on Saturday. Let me get out there on Sunday. And then somebody in his inner circle's like, yo, AB, man, somebody's going to say something. And then he has this moment, and he thinks, you know what? Maybe I can slide in there. Nobody's going to take me seriously, just like the last time. It'll be like nothing happened. It was right out of Seinfeld. Here's the clip.
I want to remind everyone that the 10th anniversary party for Rick Barr Properties is going to be Wednesday afternoon at 4 o'clock in Lasky's Bar on Madison 48th. I want all of you to be there. This really means a lot to me. Is that Costanza over there? What are you doing here?
What?
Am I crazy? Or didn't you quit?
When?
Friday.
Oh, what, that? Are you kidding? I didn't quit. Why, you took that seriously.
You mean laughing stock, all that stuff?
Come on, will you stop it?
No brains, no ability?
Teasing, what?
Okay, I want you out of here.
Unbelievable. Antonio Brown steps in thinking, hey, it was a joke. Come on. We didn't have practice. You're pulling one over on me. You're pulling my leg here. We didn't have practice on Saturday. Come on. He looks over to Big Ben. Roethlisberger, man. This guy, this Tomlin guy, he's joking. We had practice. He's giving him the elbow in the side. He's giving Roethlisberger the elbow, the jab. Come on, man. This Tomlin, he's trying to joke with me. Practice was canceled. We didn't have it. I was handling some things. He shows up and acts like nothing has changed. Everything is normal, and he can slide right in under the radar. Hilarious. I don't know what's going to happen anytime soon because of the date that has to hit June 1st and the economics of it. But the hilarity of this situation has reached a new peak now where Antonio Brown is essentially acting or tried to slide in like nothing changed. Meanwhile, Mike Tomlin is non-committal with his committal statements, meaning he's coming out there saying, yeah, Antonio Brown didn't request a trade or anything along those lines, but can't commit to his future with the Steelers, can't commit to Brown's long-term future with the Steelers because nobody has any idea. Nobody has any idea which way this thing is going to go until we hit that day, that deadline of June 1st, and it becomes economically feasible from moving on from Antonio Brown. But you've heard this all week. You'll continue to hear this as this becomes a bigger storyline, and more people are talking about it once we have Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. You need a Wednesday thing, and it's not me I'm saying as far as the NFL shows and products, and this has taken over. And Wednesday is not always a literal thing like a Wednesday thing. It means a Tuesday through Thursday, especially with the removal of Thursday Night Football from our lives into the postseason. So there are stories in the NFL that drive the drama, and this is right there at the top of it. We don't know the extent of this damage and how repairable it is. We don't. We've been told that players inside that locker room, you just heard Jerry, players inside that locker room have offered zero vote of confidence that Antonio Brown is A, doing the right thing, and B, can get anything remotely close to a Band-Aid on this situation. It's more than a Band-Aid right now. It's either working something economically out with him, which I don't know how because he's year 3 of this deal, or you turn around and say you have to bite the bullet and accept what you get on a trade once it becomes economically feasible. And, I don't know if Ben Roethlisberger wants this or not, but if you're still looking at holding on to any hopes of winning another Super Bowl, of not retiring before your career is over and wondering if you could have gotten that third Super Bowl and what that third Super Bowl means to your legacy and Hall of Fame and everything that comes with it, and you can deal and you can tolerate with Antonio Brown being there in your offense, knowing how valuable he is. Now, their chemistry was totally off on the field this year. Just like it was off the field, it was totally off on the field this year. So if you look up and think, it's worth it, I don't have many years left, I want to play for the next 3 or 4 years, but it's tough getting hit like this, the injuries that I've sustained, the wear and tear on my body. It's nice to have a built-in go-to guy like, I don't know, one, if not the best wide receiver in the NFL. Pretty cool to have that if you're trying to sustain your career, as opposed to, yes, I can't deal with him anymore, trade him and move on. So that's where it ultimately will come down to, is the relationship with Ben Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown. Mike Tomlin is a nice front for it. Mike Tomlin is an easy target because as a head coach, you're charged with being the face and CEO of your franchise that you represent and run. However, the real crux of this issue boils down to quarterback, wide receiver. Because Ben Roethlisberger ain't going anywhere so long as he still wants to play there. His position matters more to the Steelers than Antonio Brown's position. It doesn't matter if there are 3 or 4 quarterbacks ahead of Ben Roethlisberger or more, respectively, than there are wide receivers. Eytan Shander, SB Nation Radio. Final hour, we're going to go out to not L.A., but San Diego, a fascinating story in San Diego brewing with the Chargers. Eytan Shander, SB Nation Radio.
SB Nation AM.
I saw this picture of this gigantic 6'4" cow on the interweb.
And you immediately thought Photoshop.
Photoshop. No way this is true. Because it shows the cow, big, huge, like Chick-fil-A cow, you know, the one they use in the advertising. He's towering over other cows. Like Yao Ming would tower over me. Knickers the steer.
Knickers.
Down in Australia.
Which is the most perfect name for this cow.
Yes. He is 6'4".
What's his draft status, Tony?
Yeah, 6'4" with a 7-foot wingspan and can leap like a gazelle. But here's the sad part for all of us who love a good, juicy burger. Knickers is too heavy to go to the slaughterhouse.
No, you're gonna make that into beef.
You got to make that into beef.
At some point.
If he dies naturally, can you still get the meat, or is that
yes.
bad? Yeah, right?
Carve him up.
SB Nation AM with Tony D. Weekday mornings from 6 to 9 Eastern on SB Nation Radio. This is Straight Heat.
You drive a POS, take care of it, go to O'Reilly. See, it's one thing to drive a POS, but if you don't do basic maintenance so that your POS can get you from A to B, then you are a POS. Don't be a POS.
What's a POS?
Pizza.
Pizza?
Piece of...
Scrap?
Yeah, scrap.
Straight Heat with Patrick Creighton. Weekday afternoons at 5 Eastern on SB Nation Radio. SB Nation Radio. This is Pushing the Odds.
So I am talking my wife. I'm going to try and talk her into getting into Game of Thrones eventually. So let me ask you this. Out of all of those that you would want to see topless, is there one that you're like, I want that?
Well, we've already seen Daenerys Targaryen is the most attractive.
Haven't.
Well, yeah. Well, Daenerys Targaryen we've seen quite a bit, and she's yeah.
Am I going to know who that is when I see it? I'm like,
without a doubt,
that's the girl.
Yes, you will know who Daenerys Targaryen is. Yes, and she's very attractive.
Daenerys
Targaryen. Daenerys with a D.
It's too many as.
Yeah, you will know, and we've already seen her numerous times, so that's why I'm kind of surprised. Cersei Lannister. Yeah, she's yeah. Okay. She's definitely attractive. She's definitely, but you see her naked in like the second episode, so it's we've been seeing her naked quite a bit on Game of Thrones.
Tune in to Pushing the Odds Monday through Friday from noon to 3 Eastern on SB Nation Radio. SB Nation AM.
I'm so bad at binge watching, and I feel like I should be better at it.
No, I should be great at it. I've been wanting to do it my whole life.
Exactly. I mean, when we were younger, all we wanted to do was just binge watch Saturday morning cartoons, and then now I have the opportunity to sit here and let me sit my ass on a couch and just watch show after show after show, and I can't do it. Bothers me. I want to be good at it.
SB Nation AM with Tony D. Weekday mornings from 6 to 9 Eastern on SB Nation Radio. This is SB Nation Radio.
And SBNationRadio.com.
Presented by Quicken Loans. Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios. Here's Eytan Shander.
Final hour still to come. You're going to hear the biggest thing that popped out of the Antonio Brown story. Michael Jordan responds to LeBron James' GOAT comments in a statement that he made years ago. See, Jordan was talking about the future. He didn't even realize this. Maybe this was one of those Back to the Future moments in which a guy traveled back in time, or the 12 Monkeys moments, to warn us. Michael Jordan traveled back, and that's why he was so far ahead of his game. He traveled back in time to warn us about LeBron James and the monstrosity of his statement that James is the GOAT. Coming up, you want to stick around because there's a great moment of Mean Gene Okerlund that you'll hear that represents his career. Eytan Shander, SB Nation Radio.